Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I hope everybody gets on this, whether live or by replay. I hope that you'll say hi. Even if you come in late, say hi. Let me know you're here. Feel free to comment. Feel free to drop your prayer requests. That's what we're here for. To make sure that you don't feel alone, that I don't feel alone. Nobody should feel alone in this day and age, especially not with social media. But yet, that is the biggest lie. Because in reality, people feel alone even amidst all the social media and all the draws to wanting to be a part or wanting to feel like you belong. We're getting back to our Liza devotions. The last couple of weeks we've been talking about other things, but this is the second book, which, by the way, this is episode, if I'm not mistaken, 91. So 91, it's going to be when I transfer this to my YouTube. So 91 times you've showed up or watched the replay something. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. Thanks for joining. And we're reading, Eliza became just an instrument used by God during probably one of the worst probably times of my life. You know, when I say that, but it was worse at the time that I was going through the cancer scare, right? It was worse then. But my friend Kathy sent me another one of Liza's books, which, by the way, I have passed on since then and regifted it to people. And her life, a lot of times, preaches my life. And that is just amazing to me. Hey, Stephanie, how are you, girlfriend? Good to see you on here. Hi, Gwenda. Good to see you, too. So I relate so much to her when she starts sharing her life and things that she felt or things that she went through. And I don't just mean now in her adult life, like things that happened when she was a kid or things that made her stumble or things that made her think falsehoods about herself, right? The worst thing in the world is to feel like, you're alone. I mean, let's be honest. Let's just use social media. Have you ever posted something and you just knew? You just knew you were going to get a lot of likes for that. You just knew there were people, and like crickets, crickets. Or maybe somebody who comes at you. Hey, Lori, good to see you, baby. Or maybe, yeah, they come at you and you're like, man, this is not what I was looking for, right? And maybe even when you post it, maybe you're not in a good headspace. Social media, like everything else in life, has its pros and its cons, what you can get from it. And I think a lot of that starts with our expectations. Sometimes it's really, really easy for me. Hi, Kristen. Good to see you, babe. Sometimes it's really, really easy for me to sit here and talk about how I feel now in the moment. But when I think back over my 61 years, the things that I have experienced in the process of just life, when people can be cruel. And people, most of the time, when they are cruel, I'm realizing that comes from a place in their life. I don't think people are put here, they're not born to be cruel, hurtful people. I don't believe that. Even for the people that come for me, I don't believe it's really me. I believe that there is something that's happened in their life that has taught them to believe that it is okay to bash, that it is okay to come at somebody and to be mean and to be hateful. And it's not okay. But that doesn't stop us from how we feel about it, right? Have you ever heard people say, and I know back in the day, I definitely heard this a lot. You just need to grow a thick skin. This is how this is going to be. Thanks, babe. Hi, Cheryl. Good to see you, babe. So I just feel like thick skin is great. And I'm not going to say I haven't. I haven't in some ways grown a thick skin. Sure I have in a way. But in all honesty, like sometimes it just hurts. And especially when it comes from people that you never expected it from. Think about that. People that you just thought were going to support you, that were going to rah you, that no matter what you wanted to do in life, you know, you knew they was going to have your back, right? Have you ever been in that? And then you realize, well, dang, they don't. And here's the deal. Sometimes they feel exactly like you do, but I think what it comes from is you have made the move in a lot of cases to better yourself. You have made the move to take a stand. You have made a move to be brave. And although they may feel exactly like you, they haven't gotten there yet. And maybe they never will. But when they see other people attacking you, when they see other people coming for you, what happens is they will fade into the woodwork, into the shadows, and think, yeah, you go ahead, girl, you do that, but not me. Yeah. Or, you know, you think that you should be supported in this way or that way. I mean, but I need you to know something. What I figured out is a lot of times my reaction has been based on, what have I been telling myself? What have I been believing about myself? Or what have I allowed myself to believe? What have I owned that other people have said about me that I'm going to get so furious because what? Somewhere in my gut, am I thinking maybe that's who I am? Maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe maybe I am too fat. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I have been married more than once. Maybe. You know what I mean? When you hear it so much, especially from the people who should be supporting you in your mind, you have believed they should be supporting you. That when these people say it, it must be true. It must be true because these people love you. These people have your back. Sometimes it's family. And hey, newsflash, sometimes it can be a best friend. Sometimes it can be somebody that you don't even know. And for some reason, we let people who do not finance our life, who do not walk in our shoes, who do not know the whole story, and sometimes if they do, they don't know how they would react unless they live the same story. They don't know, but they can be the most judgmental, right? I mean, we talk about them all the time, keyboard bullies, right? They are just scattered all around, and a lot of them are people that we've never met. People have listened to you one time say or post something, and they immediately want to tag on you and tell you exactly who you are and that you are worse than the dirt under their feet, and they come for you, right? I mean, I don't know. I've had it happen. Probably my fault because I do this. I put myself out there. I put myself out there with what I think. I put myself out there with sharing, knowing full well that there are people who are not going to agree with me. And we've become the society that even though you don't agree, it's not okay to agree to disagree. We must come for the person. We must unfriend the person. We must block the person. We must not love the person. Hey, look, I got news for you. God made us all different for a reason. It'd be a very boring world if we all had the very same thought at the very same time and experienced the very same thing. Have you ever thought about that? Sometimes I am so glad that during the times that I've experienced things like going through cancer and this and that, I am so glad that everybody else wasn't experiencing the same thing, because you know what we're put here for? We're here to support one another. God has given us each other to support one another, y'all. Yeah, Yeah. So if we were all going through it, guess what? We'd be so worried about what we're going through, you know? I can, I think about so many of my sisters, and I don't say that loosely because it doesn't matter that I don't have any blood sisters. I have so many sisters out here who have gone through things like cancer, divorce, bad situations with their kids, um, problems in their marriage, issues in their business, not feeling supported by. The thing is, if we were all going through all those things at the same time, we would not be able to be there for each other, like it or not, right? So I believe that there is a reason that some of us go through things and then we can be there to support. We can be there to say, just hold on. I know you're gonna get through this. It's a big thing for me that sometimes we are guilty of going through things and going, oh my gosh, I'm just so glad that's over. I'm just so glad I'm through that. I mean, look, I can remember thinking that for a moment. And then I thought to myself, man, I am so glad that I went through this because of what I learned. Because number one, I came through it. And for a while, I had myself convinced in things in my life, like my divorce. I thought I would never get through that. It took 2.5 years for me to finalize my divorce. It was a nightmare. And I remember thinking, this is never going to be over. And then when it was, I just felt literally exhausted. But I can remember months later thinking to myself, my goodness, how did I get through that? How did I get through that and work all these multiple jobs? How did I get through this and still raise two boys who were going through their own stuff? How did I get through this and find the energy? And I realized that what God showed me is that what he gave me and the fact that he was there, even when I may not have been communicating with him the way I should have been, he knew that he made somebody who was strong enough to endure. Yes, he carried me and I didn't even feel it. That's exactly right. Kristen says, I have blood relatives who don't support me, but have non-blood people I call family that have my back. I think we all have those people, Kristen. I do. I do. And I think that's a great thing. And there's some people who just don't have any family because they don't have family. Maybe they've died. Some of it could be anything. Maybe they are on the outs. Maybe they don't have a supportive family. But God brings other people into our lives. I can remember one time when I was in counseling that one of the things that the lady said was, just because somebody has the same DNA as you does not give them the right to step on your neck time and time again in the name of saying that we're family. That was huge for me because I was always raised with, you don't let anybody know what you and your family are going through. What happens in the house stays in the house, that kind of thing. I was raised with, you make allowances for family. In other words, you let them treat you like crap just because they have the same DNA in their body. Or maybe, yes, your husband should be allowed to beat you because you said for better or worse, and here's the worst, baby. Yeah, see. I know women who lived through that. I know women who did that. And I'm here to tell you, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe that right now, stop just for a moment. I want you to stop and I want you to think of somebody, and maybe it is a person in your family. Maybe it's not, but somebody who, like, you're right now, like if you need somebody to pray for you, if you need a sounding board, if you need something, who would you text in this moment? Whose number would you dial at this moment? Who would you share with at this moment? I need you to know something. That person is not an accident. That is somebody that has been placed in your life, maybe not for the full lifetime, maybe not for the rest of your breathing days, But that is somebody that God has placed in your life for that particular storm. And what happens is we get so used to thinking about the people that we believe should have been there for the storm that we don't look at the blessing for the person who is there for the storm. Lee says everyone is a sum total of their life experiences up until that very moment you encounter them. Absolutely, baby. Lee he's always tossing stuff like that to me. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes I want to hit him in his head. Probably because I'm not ready to say, yeah, you're right, that's me. But he just keeps coming with them, which is good. I believe that we are so busy looking sometimes at what we don't have and what God has given us. We don't look at that. Let me reverse that. We don't look at that. We look at the people that we wish were there. Maybe you wish that your husband had been really supportive during a really bad time in your life. But yet there were 1, 2, 3 other people who held you up during that episode. Now, I'm not saying that your husband shouldn't have been there. I'm not saying that. Hey, Trina, how are you, girlfriend? I'm not saying that your husband shouldn't have been there. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, somewhere along the line, God knew that he wasn't going to be what you needed in that moment. And although he should learn to be there for you in those moments, he gave you somebody. Have you ever made the statement before when you look at somebody and you say, I would have never gotten through this if it hadn't have been for this person? I never saw... Yeah. Everybody has those episodes, those particular things in their life. And you know what? I guarantee you more than half of them are not the people that are in your family. It's somebody else who just could separate themselves and be your source of support and be there for you. We need to recognize that's God speaking. He says, I'm there for you, and in this presence, I'm going to give you this person. And then there are those times when you are absolutely strong enough to get through it. And just depend on God. No crutch needed. No person needed. And you want to believe you can't get through it, but yet here you are going, but I did get through it. You did get through it. He got you through it with everything he gave you in your being, that everything you had experienced before. I mean, what a great thing to know that he made you capable, that if you grab onto him, you can get through things. That, by the way, I've heard this said numerous times. God never gives you more than you can handle. Can I tell you something? I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe that we get hit a lot with things that when we try to handle it ourselves, we wouldn't handle it. But God is either there when we grab onto him and we have the immense faith. And look, everybody should have that kind of faith. But I'm going to tell you, sometimes in life, I have not had that kind of faith. I have not had the faith that I needed to believe that it was going to be okay. I can remember when my son was going through his own divorce, and I thought, I don't know if he's ever going to get through this. I don't know. I was so scared about what that was going to do to him in the aftermath. And yet, I should have had the faith to say, God is going to teach him something through this. He's probably going to teach me something too, and he did. He taught me to love in spite of the person I wanted to hate. He taught me that sometimes you do things you wouldn't normally do for the love that you have for other people. He taught me that I could put my personal feelings aside and keep my eyes on the person who really needed the support. So many of those moments. And here's a news flash. Those moments will continue until the day you draw your last breath. Now, you have two options. You can choose to say, I don't like this storm. Look, I don't like that Hurricane Debbie is coming up the coast. I don't like that one little bit. Can I just tell you? Look, I'd much rather a hurricane than a tornado, because tornadoes, I mean, they're just tornadoes in your life are just crazy. They'll hit two houses, skip two, hit the next one, skip two. You never know how a tornado's going to hit, right? Hey, Quentin, good to see you, baby doll. But this is what I will tell you. Hurricanes are not good either. I don't like it, but do you know what? I can try to prepare for the storm, and I can batten down the hatches and know that I'm going to get through it, whether the roof flies off the top of the house or rather a chair just goes through the yard and I'm like, yep, there we go, Wizard of Oz stuff right there. There it goes. Look. I don't like that storm is coming. And guess what? There will be another storm. When we get through Debbie, just like all the other storms, we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it. It's what you do. But how are you going to get through it? Are you going to go through it like punching and fighting it and going, no, I shouldn't have to deal with this. I don't understand. God doesn't love me. He's not watching. He's not listening. Why am I getting this hate from this person? Why is life so hard? Why do I have to work all these extra hours in order to make my bills? I'm going to tell you something. You don't know how strong you are until you get to the other side of the storm. Because when you going through the storm, when you going through the bad stuff, right, all you trying to do is get through it, and you're holding on and you're trying to make the right decisions. You're doing the best you can through the power of God. If you got him on your side, you're going to do a whole lot better. But you don't even realize that you haven't even stopped to wipe your brow, to dry your eyes, to clean the snot out of your nose that you've been crying and moaning. You don't even realize that you just got through something that technically you shouldn't have gotten through. But you did. You did. Man, that's powerful stuff right there. You know, I say all the time, I follow so many people on social media, and it always amazes me that people who are always saying, hey, guys, this is happening in my family, and I'm just asking, will you all pray? You know, all I can do is pray. And yet, not 2 months ago, they were posting something that said something about that. Oh, they believe in a more powerful something out there. They just don't know what it is. Well, I got news for you. You better figure out what it is out there. Because the one I'm praying to, the one I'm asking to help get you out of this situation, is the only person who can. And even if he doesn't get you out of the situation, he can walk you through the situation. And you may not get the result that you want, but you will get the result that you need. There will be something is going to come out of this when the dust clears, and you're going to go, wow, I never knew I had it in me. You didn't. God was right there to push you through. He was right there to say, yes, you can. I am a person, I'm not going to lie to you. I can tell you, I say all the time, don't pay attention to your haters. And you know what? I have gotten to where 80% of the time, I'm okay with that. I am 80% of the time, I'm like, look at the source, whatever. I can be that person. But there are times when it comes from a place that you are not. I mean, why is the devil going to try to smack me with somebody I already know don't got no use for me? Somebody at this point who maybe they're jealous. And by the way, Don't be jealous of me. If you watching this in the replay or something and you think you want to be jealous of me, let me tell you something. You see me and you think this is always a good place. Have you not been listening to me for the last 15, 20 years? What I've shared has not been roses and rainbows, but it has been storms before the rainbows. It has been when I look at the plant and there's nothing blooming because I have been cut down to bear nothing, to bear essentials. And I'm looking, wondering, am I even alive? Am I really making it? What does this look like? And then all of a sudden, there's a bloom. Sometimes we get really, really scared to cut back who we think we want to be and accept and realize who we are and that what we were made is good enough. And that has been a hard one for me. Example. I had a plant that I bought, beautiful, beautiful mini petunia plant that I bought. And when I got it, it was absolutely gorgeous. And it bloomed and it bloomed and it bloomed and it bloomed and it bloomed, right? And it was gorgeous. And then what happens is it's one of the ones that drape over. And they say that as it gets longer, even if it's hanging, that there is a need mid-season to cut it back. And I mean cut it back to the bare essentials. And that if you do that, it will come back. I need you to know something. I sat and I looked at this plant and I loved the flowers that were on it, but I could see these bald spots in it and I knew what needed to be done, right? I knew I needed to trim it back. I knew I needed to give it a chance to really live again. I knew it could happen, but I didn't want to let go of what was already there. I wanted to hold on to it. And then finally I told Lee, I said, this is it. I'm just cutting it back. And if it dies, it dies. It is what it is. But I don't like all these bare spots. I've got you watering it every night. And this thing is not doing what it should do. But if I cut it back, I'm scared that's not going to happen. There was fear. Yes, I know. Fear for a plant. I love planting, love my tomatoes, love it all. But fear, right? I cut it back. There was not one leaf on that plant. There was a couple of stems. They were healthy. You could tell when I cut them, you could see that it wasn't dead. There was green in there. But can I tell you, not months later, can I tell you that 4 days later, I saw the first greenery pop up. This little teeny leaf. And I said, oh my gosh, Lee. Now, Lee, of course, my blind guy can't see it, so he's just believing me, right? And I'm like, Lee, I swear, there's one little leaf, and it looks like there's a few more that want to come out. And he's like, well, that's good. Lee ain't all into that. He just watered them for me, right? And I said, okay, I'm hoping this is going to work. And then I hadn't really paid attention to it for a few days. And I came out, and there were like 6 small leaves on it. And then a week ago, I went out and the first bloom of the new, very first, second birth of this baby petunia, it had a bloom. And I said, all I had to do was trim it back and help it start over. It wasn't dead. It just needed the dead weight trimmed off. It needed to be reborn in some fashion. And now I have 4 or 5 blooms that are ready to bloom. And there's greenery all. And I'm telling y'all, this has been a month. A month of extreme heat. Almost 100-degree weather. Can I just tell you? There is life when you let go of something that's not serving you well anymore. And sometimes it's what people are telling you. People were telling me, I got a lot of grief when I started, and I talked about this last week. I got a lot of grief when I started a new business to bring in another stream of income. I mean, I got a lot of grief. I mean, all those people who love me, man, a lot of grief, right? Now, eventually, the love came back from a lot of people. It's all good. But see, I had to do something to save myself. And it was a very, 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 very scary thing. One, because of what I was known for. Two, did I have enough faith in me that I knew where God was leading me? But did I want to go through the hard stuff? People judging me, people asking me why, people talking behind my back, people yelling at me to my face. Mad respect for you, by the way. This, I had to trim back everything that I was hanging on to with the want to of what I thought would happen, and said, Molly, this is not going to happen until you change where you're at. You have got to start something new and let happen what's going to happen with the old. Let it happen. But in the meantime, you got to transplant yourself, man, because you have what it takes for growth. You have what it takes to once again change the lives of individuals. You have what it takes to share what it takes to be in business, and what you need to recognize and what you need to look at. And I have to tell you, it's 4.5 months in now, but here I am. And I realized that I didn't get through that without God, because every single day for weeks and a couple of months, I was in tears about something. But at the same time, trying to be brave that I had done something that I knew was going to take everything inside of me because of the walls I was going to hit. And you know what I started thinking about? The walls that I hit in my life. The fact that I was hit with a wall at 16 and my mom died of pancreatic cancer. That my dad was an alcoholic for years. That I was sexually abused as a little girl. That I got caught up with the wrong people later on in life. But the one thing that I knew was that I was not going to stay down. I could have chosen to take alcohol, drugs, it was all offered. And it was all tried. But it never fit. It never fit showing me that the journey could be better. And again, I think God knew what he made. But there were people in my life. Let me be clear. Here's a story. When my dad told me that I was going to have to leave my house, and I was 18 years old, not quite 19 yet, he said, if things don't get better between you and your stepmother, you're going to have to go. And this was months after my mom had died. So I didn't know what I was going to do. My mom used to be a waitress in her early years, and I used to go to the restaurant and sit at the bar and watch her do what she did, right? She was so good at it, and she loved people. So I went to this restaurant called the Ranch House, and they were looking for a waitress. And I went in there, no knowledge, no expertise, no nothing, 18 years old. And the head waitress was going to interview me for the job, and she had 4 other people that she interviewed that, by the way, obviously they had experience. And she sat down with me in the booth. I will never, ever forget this. And her name was Barbara. I don't even know if Barbara's still alive. But let me tell you, Barbara sat at the table and she said to me, Molly, I don't know you. She says, but I know you're 18. You have no job experience. By the way, none. No job experience. She says, I have 3 other women that I'm getting ready to interview, and they all have restaurant experience. Why should I hire you and not them? And let me tell you, at 18, phew, I thought, the first thing I said is, well, I guess I'll just leave now because I can't compete with that, right? In my brain, I was thinking, this is done. I will never get this job. Just go to the McDonald's, Molly. Go to the McDonald's, whatever. And I didn't. I looked at her and I said, I have been going through some really tough stuff. I said, my mom died about 7 months ago. And I said, and you're right, I don't have any experience. But my mom used to be a waitress, and I used to watch her, and I know that people loved her. And my mom got married at 16. I remember telling her this. My mom got married. Actually, I think it was 15 going on 16. And I said, and she didn't have a lot of experience with anything, but she was a really hard worker. And my mom taught me to be the same way. I said, when I was 10 and 11, I was in the kitchen cooking with her. And I said when the lawn needed to be done, my mom and I were the ones who were out there doing the lawn and planting the flowers. I said I was the one who set the table and prepped the food. So my mom taught me so much, and I watched her. I said, but this is what I know. I need money. I need to make money. I said, I don't even know if I'm going to have a home in the next 30 or 40 days. I said, so what I can tell you is that if you give me a chance, if you hire me, I will work harder than anybody you have here. I will show up every day, not on time. I will show up early. I will do what you want done, how you want it done. You train me how you want me to be. And even when I'm sick, I will come in and I will work. I will be the best employee that you ever hired because I have to be. I said, I don't know if that means anything. I said, but what I would ask is give me a chance. Give me an opportunity. And if in 2 weeks you do not see something in me that you want to keep around, I will walk away with nothing but the tips that I have made, hoping that I would make them. If I said, that's all I have to offer you is my honesty and what I tell you I will do for you. I said, you will never regret hiring me. I promise you that. She didn't say a lot. She wrote some stuff down, and she said, I will be in touch. And the next day, I got a phone call. And she had told me that she would call whether I got the job or not. And she called and she said, can you be here at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon? And I said, what? I said, seriously? She said, seriously. She says, I'm going to give you the name of 2 places where you can go and you can get just a white dress uniform. She says, this is where you're going to go. You're going to get one. Get yourself a good pair of shoes because you're going to be walking a lot. And I will have your apron for you. And I'm going to give you your 2 weeks. And I was like losing. I was like screaming on the phone like, oh my gosh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And she says, I'm going to see at 18 years old if you live up to your promises. So I did I did everything she said. And I went in and I worked hard. And it was hard. Let me tell you something. Stop giving all your waitresses grief out there because waitressing is one of the hardest jobs I have ever done in my life. Matter of fact, it taught me how to be a hard worker. It did. It did. And I went, and within 2 days, they had me in my own section. And it was the slower section, but she gave me that. And in 2 weeks, I worked every day that she gave me. She called me in for a different couple of shifts where people weren't going to show up. I went in. And I remember asking her when she said she was going to keep me on. I said, why did you choose me? You had 3 other people with experience. And she says, because you had a need. She said, And I felt like I could take you and mold you into the best person in this restaurant. She said, I felt like rather than somebody coming in here telling me how the restaurant should run, that you were going to take my direction and become the best of what we needed. And that is what you are showing me. I went on to meet the owners of the restaurant after being there for a couple of years, and I became the head waitress there at one time, and I became the person. I went back because I knew how to cook. When the cook wouldn't show up, I went back and cooked. I washed dishes when they needed a dishwasher. I showed up to bus tables when they didn't have it, because the truth of the matter is I had a need, and I was a hard worker, and I never wanted to let Barbara down, because she gave me the opportunity to shine when even I wasn't sure that I would. I need you to know that God gave me that opportunity. See, I shouldn't have been hired that day. I'm truly a believer that I should not have been hired that day. And I can remember the people that I waited on, the regular customers who came in, and they would wait for me to wait on them. I remember that there was a waitress, and she was so gruff. Her name was Dee. And she was so gruff, and she didn't want to like me, but she ended up liking me, which is great. And when she had to take off, which was seldom because she was such a good waitress, she always showed up, she would say to Barbara, I need to take off, but I want you to bring Molly in. I want her to take care of my people. She says, can you bring her? Because I worked evenings and worked into the night. Like I would work like from 5 at night till 3 in the morning. And she worked the morning shift. She would come in to relieve me because we were open 24 hours. And she said, I want Molly to take my shifts while I'm gone. That was the highest compliment that anybody in that restaurant could give me. The owners trusted me with the money. They trusted me with making the drops. I felt kind of like Joseph, right? Remember the story of Joseph when his brothers and everybody like sold him off into slavery because they wanted to kill him? See, I have been through this stuff where there wasn't a lot of family in my life then. There was nothing. And I inherited family from that. Family that wasn't blood. God put people in my life that kept me raised up. Side note on that, about 3 months later, my dad said it's time out. So I did. I moved into an apartment I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to afford, and I didn't have a lick of furniture. He wouldn't let me take my bed. He wouldn't let me take my piano. He wouldn't let me. I had to pack my clothes in trash bags. And I had one thing that was in the back of my car, and that was a reclining lounge like chair, like beach chair. And that's where I slept for a really long time because I didn't have a bed. And then my brother Mark showed up, and we kind of reconnected again. And Mark gave me a lot of the old furniture, old bed, things that he had. But guys, when I tell you, I mean, there's stuff that came out today that I don't think I have ever told y'all. I'm going to tell you, life sucks if you don't have a want to for it not to suck. You know, I had an opportunity to do things. I can remember a guy coming in the restaurant. He wanted me basically to be his call girl. Yeah, he wanted. He says, do you know what an escort is? I didn't. I had no clue. Well, you just go to dinner with people. You just do this. You just do that. And I'm like, what? What, really? And you can make this much money now. Yes, somebody educated me what he really wanted, what he was really going to do with me. Do you know that God put those people who educated me in my life to save me from things that may have happened, that I may not even be here or even alive talking to you today. People look at me and they go, "Oh, Molly, everybody loves you. Oh, Molly, so many people follow you. Oh, Molly, this. Oh, Molly, that." No, 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 no. No, it's not. And I am so grateful for the love that's in my life now. I need you to know that. But what it took and the episodes in my life to get here, do you know what God knew long before I knew it? That all this stuff that I share with you, He knew it was all going to happen, but He knew it was needed to put me where I am right now, today, to share with you, to tell you that if you're getting through the bad stuff, it is prepping you for what you need that's coming. He never promised perfect. He never promised easy. But He did promise that He will walk you through it. And just because He walks with you doesn't mean the journey was easy. Let's talk. The journey to the cross wasn't easy. He fell down. He was beaten. He was bruised. But He still got to the cross for you and for me. Your journey, no matter how dark it looks or how embarrassing, and believe me, there are many things, I've shared some of them with you, that have happened to me in my life that are downright embarrassing. But had I not gone through it and learned and gotten back up, truth of the matter here is, yeah, Lee, testimony doesn't exist without a test. By the way, sometimes I have failed the test. Sometimes I didn't react, I don't think, the way God wanted me to. But you know what He knew? He knew how I'd react. He knew I wouldn't take the right road. He knew I was going to put myself down another path. And He says, well, if that's the path you want to take, I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to walk you through it then. And He has. You know how I know that? I'm still here. I'm still here, and I'm still determined to make a difference. Make a difference in life, make a difference in business, make a difference in opportunity, make a difference in friendships, make a difference in telling you you're not the only one who's been through struggles. Stop crutching yourself on what you've been through. You have got to let go of the crutches of how bad your life has been and realize that you are still here. You have got to get rid of the crutches, and you have got to learn to walk and stop depending on the excuses of the bad that's happened to you. Let that bad be a learning and a teaching lesson for other people. That is what it's for. All those parables in the Bible, what you think they're just there to entertain you? No. It's to show you the way. And do you think they didn't get it wrong in Bible days? Have you read the story of David? Have you read the story of Moses? Come on now. I don't know anybody who... Have you read about Peter? He denied Jesus 3 times. Come on. Man. It's there. I want to read this real quick, and then we're gonna close this out. And this is from Liza. It's called A Script to Preach to Myself, and it's based on the Bible verse, Revelation 12:11. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Liza says, I'll never forget the first time a girl in elementary school told me I was ugly. I remember it felt like the world stopped spinning and suddenly everyone was looking in my direction, nodding in agreement. Red hot shame filled my cheeks. I ran to the bathroom. I stared at my face in the mirror. I didn't bother to wipe away the tears or the snot. I just stood there wishing I could cover up whatever it was that made that girl determine I wasn't acceptable. But I realized it wasn't just a part of me that she thought was ugly. It was a sum total of me. In her estimation, I was ugly. Not just my hair or my nose or my body. It was all of me. And the saddest part of all, I agreed with her. It's been decades since the unfortunate incident that said way more about that other girl's issues than mine. But I can still find myself staring in the mirror, agreeing with statements that are so opposite of God's truth. We know the enemy is the father of lies, John 8:44. But when I get tripped up is when my insecurities make his lies feel like the loudest truth in my head. That's why we have to set our minds and our hearts on the absolute truth of God's word. When our insecurities beg us to believe we aren't beautifully and wonderfully made, we must look to the hope-filled pages of Scripture to remind us of the difference between lies and truth. The enemy wants you to stare and compare in all the ways you already feel inadequate. He wants you to doubt God's goodness and how he made you. So if you start hearing the enemy's script, recognize it for what it is: false accusations, and it can come from people. Here's a cheat sheet to remind you how he whispers in your ear. If only you were. You aren't enough. You are too much. If God really loved you, people think you're so... Why can't you just... Why does she always get? Why can't you ever? Sweet friend, don't help the enemy get you into a state of defeat by believing and repeating his scripts. God will lead you with love and conviction, but never accusation or condemnation. He isn't measuring you by what you are or aren't accomplishing, or what size your jeans are, or how your kids are behaving today, or how much money you have in your bank account. He loves your heart. He wants your heart. Reject the lies and start listening to the one who knows you completely and loves you fully. Let's start preaching God's truth to our hearts in the midst of whatever insecurities are taunting us today. It is the most powerful way to help us fight the lies and accusations of the enemy. We will defeat him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony, Revelations 12:11. Oh, how I love that last verse. God's message of hell-defeating hope is often most powerfully preached from the lips of those whose pain has been turned into purpose. The pain that's been turned into purpose of telling people about what God has done in their lives through it all. Jesus has brought the blood. We can bring the words of our testimony. Also, never forget who is the accuser of our brothers and sisters, and that his vicious lies will always go after your most vulnerable insecurities and doubts. We must let God's word become the words we live by. Let's change the scripts, begging us to believe anything opposite of God's truth. He is with you. He will not leave you. And he absolutely will see you all the way through whatever you're going through at this time. Her prayer is, God, help me seek you alone to tell me who I am when I am tempted to believe lies about myself. Today I'm choosing to flip the script and preach truth to myself. I know you love me, you won't leave me, and you will absolutely see me through whatever I am facing right now. Yeah. Don't believe the lies. Don't believe the lies. Believe that God can use whatever it is that you're going through. And your testimony on how you got through it will follow, and it will help somebody else who needs a friend when nobody else shows up. True story. Have you followed my life? Have you really been listening? Are you only following the good stuff with me? There's good stuff, but there is a lot of bad stuff that led to who I am in this very moment. And some days, I don't even want to show up for you here because the days can get that bad. But you know what happens? I still show up. Because if I can show up, even when I'm not feeling it, it shows you that you can too. So take this message and apply it where you need to. Share it to who you need to share it with. And know that it's all about what God thinks. It's not about all those people who want to bring you down with their scripts of who they think you are. God knows that you are one to be reckoned with. And if you let him use you in all ways, he will use you to help direct somebody's path. And may I tell you, there is no greater joy, there is no amount of money than when somebody says to me, that message, that testimony, that thing you went through, that thing you shared, Molly, thank you. Because I was just thinking I was the worst person in the world. No. We are sinful creatures. We get it wrong a lot. But we are loved. And he has done everything he needs to do to redeem us and to help us get through the next storm. I love you guys. Please leave your prayer requests and pray for each other. And remember, we aren't worthy of the Lamb, but he has given the gift. Accept it. And get through this day being very proud of who he's made you and do better. Take care. Have a great rest of your week.